Hello, everyone. Shane Holloway here. Welcome to the Shane Holloway Show. Today, we're going to be going over all the news from US to Canada to the UK to Australia. We're going to be going over crime, a little bit of geopolitics, and we're going to be going over some of the people that are not so fortunate this holiday season. So first up, we got some announcements. The soldier who got shot in DC, Andy Wolf's mother, Melody, says he is not awake and responsive in the truest sense, but is responsive in a few simple commands like raising his thumb and squeezing hand and wiggling his toes. So that's the update for him. I got to go through these fast because I got a lot to get through. A 17-year-old just built a mind-controlled prosthetic arm, and this note says that it's actually not just mind control, it also uses motion sensors. So just so you know, it's not just mind control, but it is pretty amazing.
So my novel mind-controlled bionic arm,
and it costs $300,
was intended to address these shortcomings. So using tiny, non-invasive electrodes, I was able to pick up fuzzy residual electrical activity on the forehead. I theorized that deciphering those obscure surface-level signals could potentially allow the interpretation of frontal lobe brainwave activity, and so I conducted this IRB-approved study to collect thousands of brainwave data points from a diverse group of human subjects, and by using this acquired data to train a complex artificial intelligence-based mind-reading algorithm, I was able to discern bona fide user thoughts from scalp electrical activity. And so my final algorithm involves over 23,000 lines of handwritten code and over
AI is crazy. It even sounds like it's him saying it, right?
900 pages of calculus-intensive math. No existing system has been able to achieve the accuracy that my system has. And so in a series
So he probably said this in Chinese, I'm guessing.
rigorous tests, my provisionally patented neuroprosthesis has achieved similar performance to that of the world's industry-leading $450,000 plus invasive prosthetics. The arm is extremely durable, lightweight, and has no surgical requirement, and my entire system costs less than $300 to produce.
That's crazy. Next up, we have Denmark has allowed Ukraine to build a military factory on its territory, the first such case in NATO, in the town of Voyen. Ukraine will produce solid military-grade rocket fuel. Placing such facilities in Denmark allows Kiev to develop its product safely. This is asking for trouble. It looks so much better on the stream than on my screen. It's crazy. Next up, we have 2024's military spending. US $968 billion, China $235 billion, Russia $145.9 billion. Foreign military base, US approximately 750 in over 80 countries. China 1 in Djibouti. Russia between 18 and 25. And yet to meet anyway, the rest of that is probably bullshit. His opinion. Sprinter Press. Global arms sales reach a record 679 billion. So the reason why I'm showing you these is because this is a lot of people are talking about this right now. Global arms hit a record 679 billion in 2024, driven by wars and rising tensions. Global arms sales reached a record 679 billion in 2024, according to a report by Stockholm International Peace Research Institute published on Monday. And then you can see here the world's top 100 defense companies. So let's try to zoom in a bit here. Total revenues of Turkish defense firms rose 11% last year compared with 2024, reaching 10.1 billion. Generally, the top 100 defense companies generated 579 billion in arms and military service sales in 2024, a 5.9% increase from the previous year. So you can see this is Japan, Turkey, India, some of the smaller countries here, Singapore, Poland, Canada's right here. We're actually doing okay. We got more than Poland. Spain, Indonesia. It's how the money's spent, though, to be fair. Italy. I guess this is billions, is it? The most is Lockheed Martin and RTX, Northern Grumman, General Dynamics, Boeing. And yeah, you'll find this on X everywhere if you just search up 2024 military spending. Next up, we're going to go over some crime that I thought was important to call out. We had a mass shooting in California, or a mass shooting in California happened. 4 children were struck and killed, and 14 other people were struck but survived in a mass shooting in California child's birthday party, officials say. It's very sad. I was watching the stream live. We were listening to the scanner and stuff. Gunman kills 4 people, including 3 children, in shooting at California child's birthday party. So this is the 14-year-old boy. That one of the 14-year-old boys, they're one of the victims. A 14-year-old boy was killed. Sad. He looked like a nice young man. And then an 8-year-old girl who's 2 weeks from her 9th birthday, Maya Lupina. So you'll probably hear her name. I'm not sure what this boy's name is. We'll probably hear more about these children soon, I'm guessing. Usually there's like a grace period for the victims' families. Nick Sorter. Breaking. Pam Bondi announced the DOJ has secured a guilty plea from the co-founder of El Chapo's Sinaloa cartel, El Mayo Garcia. He'll now spend the rest of his miserable life in U.S. prison. Now, this is important because they'll probably use him to take more people down, and then those people take more people down, and they'll take them all down. And I know a friend of mine shared a story about the Canadian government actually finding a grenade launcher, and they assume by some gang, and they assume that they're related to the Sinaloa cartel. So hopefully this puts him a little bit at ease to know that they're going at the head of the snake.
We're here to announce a landmark victory for the Department of Justice, our law enforcement partners, and the United States of America. As you've heard, drug kingpin Ishmael Zambada Garcia, also known as El Mayo, has confessed to a lifetime of crime in service to the Sinaloa cartel, a foreign terrorist organization. Thanks to the relentless work of our prosecutors and our federal agents, El Mayo will spend the...
Guess you can't call them gang anymore. You gotta call them terrorists. It's a Sinaloa terrorist.
...rest of his life behind bars. He will die in a U.S. federal prison where he belongs. His guilty plea brings us one step closer to achieving our goal of elimination of the drug cartels and the transnational criminal organizations throughout this world that are flooding our country with drugs, human traffickers, and homicides. Under President Trump's leadership, the Department of Justice is on the front lines of this fight. We're standing shoulder to shoulder with all of our law enforcement partners to dismantle these narco-terrorists. And that's exactly what they are. They are narco-terrorists. El Mayo was one of the most prolific and powerful drug traffickers in this world. His partner was El Chapo. They were co-founders of the Sinaloa cartel. They brutally murdered multiple people and flooded our country with drugs. Their reign of terror is over. He will never walk free again. Over the last 3 decades, El Mayo and his accomplices made billions of dollars hundreds of millions each year they were making by bringing poisonous drugs into our country.
So a lot of people wonder why, like, I do a lot of U.S. stories, even though I'm Canadian. They want to hear more about Canada, but you gotta keep in mind this is a transnational terrorist organization that's bringing drugs to every country. So if America takes them down, that's really good for Canada too. That's really good for the UK. That's good for everybody. So that's why I like to do these stories, because I can guarantee you, if there's grooming gangs in the UK, there's grooming gangs in Canada, there's grooming gangs in Australia, there's grooming gangs in everywhere, right? So we need to follow these stories in every country and then look for it in our countries to keep it out. Because if they kick it out, then they're going to come to our country and do it here. You know what I'm saying? So we got to be smart, you know? This is like, it's kind of like Western news should be intermingled, kind of like, I think that, like, your body is all connected, right? So if one thing that breaks here, it's going to mess up over here. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like that when it comes to the international body of the West. If Canada breaks down, America's going to have a problem. If America breaks down, Canada's going to have a problem. If the UK breaks down, France is going to have a problem. France breaks down, UK is going to have a problem. Okay? So that's why we got to, like, kind of keep an eye on the things that are happening, going on everywhere, and not just in our own backyards.
Are we going to see an escalation in charges?
Oh, there's no question. First of all, our hearts go out and our thoughts and prayers go out to the family of a beautiful 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom, who answered the call to serve her nation. And she volunteered, and she ended up being shot ambush style on the cold streets of Washington, D.C. By an individual who will now be charged with murder in the first degree. There are certainly many more charges to come, but we are upgrading the initial charges of assault to murder in the first degree. And we are hoping that the more information we can get and the more investigation that is going on 24/7 now, around the clock in Washington, the more we will find out about what actually happened in terms of this individual even being in this country and being in a position to ambush and shoot down an innocent young woman who was doing her duty to the people of this country.
Next up, here's another this international court. So Ali Muhammad Ali Abdu al-Rahman, guilty of 27 counts of crime against humanity and war crimes committed in Darfur, Sudan. That was October 6th. So I'm trying to catch up on some of the Sudan stuff, because everybody's like, how come nobody cares about Sudan? I care about Sudan, but there's not a lot of, like, stories coming out there. Like, this is one of the newest ones, November 17th. This is October 6th, so it's pretty spread out, right? But you can see Sudan is living through genocide right now, the second one in a generation. And the world is doing exactly what it did the first time, looking away while people are slaughtered. This isn't history repeating by accident. It's because the first genocide was never dealt with, probably.
I need the help of TikTok in making this video go viral. Like, comment, share, do whatever you got to do. People need to be talking.
This is really sad, guys, so prepare yourself.
Talking about what's happening in Sudan. I had a friend of mine and his brother. I don't know why he took his brother, but they went to Sudan to document everything that was going on. They were at what they thought was going to be a safe distance, and there were other journalists around them. They literally fucking massacred them. Dude, there were 13 of them, and they all got massacred, and the media is not talking about it right now. And this is so fucked up, dude, because literally they massacred them in a field of which thousands of people were already massacred in. I knew Assam for over 2 years now, and he had family that was in Sudan, and that's primarily the reason of why he went. so he can document and see if he can find his family, because he hasn't talked to his motherfucking family in over 8 months. And now he's dead. Probably in the same motherfucking field that they were massacred in. The entire ground is stained with blood. They literally fucking dismembered them, dude. Like, this shit is inhumane, no matter how much you want to look at it. And the UAE needs to be held responsible, because this is a motherfucking genocide. This is fucked up. This is a motherfucking war crime. And all of this shit is being backed by one motherfucking specific group that nobody wants to mention out in the public without their videos being fucking suppressed. What the fuck happened to free speech? Why are we being censored upon something that needs to be motherfucking talked about, people? These are humans. People that bleed the same motherfucking way as you do. But you want to sit in your privileged little seat, acting as if you have it all figured out, right? Not giving one fuck about it because you don't feel as if you're capable of making a difference. All you have to do is literally create a platform of your own. Utilize that platform to speak the fuck out, dude. Find ways to get in touch with these organizations to provide some sort of aid, some sort of support for them. These are innocent women and children that are being from trees. This shit is sick, man. This shit is disturbing. I don't understand how another human could possibly have the will to do this to another human. That's just the thing. It's become tradition at this point. It's fucked.
So, this is happening in Sudan. So this is going to talk about the war crimes.
The chamber is convinced that the accused is guilty beyond reasonable doubt of the crimes with which he has been charged. Its verdicts are unanimous. Stand up, please, Ali Muhammad Ali Abd al-Rahman. The Chamber's verdicts are as follows. For the war crime of attack against a civilian population, count 1, under Articles 8.2(e)(1) and 25(3)(b) of the statute, committed during the Kudum and Bendizi operation, guilty. For the war crime of pillaging, count 4, under the relevant articles, and committed during the Kudum and Bendizi operation, guilty. For the war crime of destroying the enemy's property, count 5, under the relevant counts of the statute, again committed during the Kudum and Bendizi operation, guilty. For the crime against humanity...
We get it. He's guilty of everything. You can see that on the International Criminal Court's X account if you want to watch it. If you're a victim, you want to watch it. Now this one's pretty crazy too. The massacre in Sudan is so massive you can literally see bloodstains from space, visible in satellite footage. The Islamist-led ethnic cleansing is still raging on, relentless and unpunished. Where are the human rights activists? Crazy. So that's the biggest news stories. We're going to have to cleanse ourselves. This is Christmas in Israel. Commit cleansing. I'll probably get a copyright strike for that. Anyway, it was worth it. Next up, we have USA News. President Trump says all executive orders, memorandums, pardons, and contracts signed by Joe Biden's auto pen are now void and don't have any validity. Well, this is long. Does this mean Dr. Fauci is going to prison for crimes against humanity? And what about Hunter Biden? Can we lock him up? Any and all documents, proclamations, executive orders, memorandums, or contracts signed by order of now infamous and unauthorized auto pen within the administration of Joseph R. Biden Jr. are hereby null, void, and of no further force or effect. Anyone receiving pardons, commutations, and any other legal document so signed, please be advised that this said document has been fully and completely terminated and is of no legal effect. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Wait, how do I go back now? There we go. So, Matt Tardio, Afghan vet, Special Forces, said, Dems released Epstein files. Files released. Dems caught doing business with Epstein. Dems, cough, cough. Trump is a war criminal. Nick Sorter, laughed my ass off. Kash Patel just teabagged Eric Swalwell in front of millions of people on live TV. Quote, if Eric Swalwell wants to weigh in on my wardrobe, I'll send him a woman's medium so he and Fang Fang can coordinate. Expect Fang Fang's, end quote. Expect Fang Fang's boyfriend to melt down on MSNBC in the coming hours. So, for anyone who doesn't know this story, Eric Swalwell was caught. He's a politician in America. He was caught with a Chinese honeypot, like a woman who was like using him for China. So he was like in a relationship with a woman named Fang Fang, who was like the CCP operative. Pretty funny. So he's making fun of him. Oh, hold on, guys. This is this browser literally just came out of beta, and she's hurting right now. This is called spatial browsing, though. It's so cool. Cosmic just came out of beta, and they gave me a free 1-year subscription. So shout out to them.
You mentioned the thing
they gave it to everybody, but
about the patches and the gossipy stuff, which I know you laughed it off on Twitter, but on X. But they're saying, oh, he refused to get off the plane in Utah after Charlie Kirk's assassination because he wanted a better fitting FBI raid jacket. Is that true? And does fashion really make the man, Kash?
It's 100% false. As you know, look, Laura, sadly, I was at 9/11 at Ground Zero in New York City on 9/11 because I was a White House representative honoring those victims and their names being read. You are very familiar with that. Then we made the immediate decision after Charlie got shot in the neck to fly to Utah unexpectedly to lead the manhunt to find the perpetrator in less than 33 hours because the FBI cut video, put it out in a press conference, and these people are worried about what I was wearing and what patches I was wearing. I was honoring my men and women at the FBI. One of my agents handed me a jacket and said, hey, boss, you should probably wear this. We're going into the command center. I said I'd be honored to wear that. And then another one handed me the SWAT team badge of the unit that was protecting the area where Charlie was assassinated. I wore that with pride. These people can talk about my appearances all they want, but look at the results. The FBI, this FBI, my FBI, the one that Dan and I are building here under President Trump, is succeeding in ways that no FBI has ever done so before. So the institutionalists and the anonymous reporters from the swamp DC bureaucracy are the ones we are crushing. And that's how I know we're winning. And if Eric Swalwell wants to come online and talk about what jacket size I wear, I'm happy to send him a women's medium so him and Fang Fang can go out again.
So this next story is from Amy Mack. Sure, Sharia is banned in Texas, yet look where the most hardline Sharia adherent preachers are, Texas. And we've heard this before from like Saudi and stuff, that like all the extremists are over here now. My friend Bob just caught both of them on camera, the same men I've been warning Texans about for a year.
In order to promote the knowledge of Islam, and this
I'm going to have to apologize, guys, because this is all... The man who recorded this only recorded it in mono audio, so it's going to come out of one speaker. So if you can't hear anything, that might be why.
The best way to protect the deen, the Sharia in America, is to learn it. Learn it so that you will be able to teach it, especially to Americans. Listen, wallahi, if America knows about this Sharia, I'm telling you, if you can convince the public, away from the politicians, away from the senators, because these guys, they have different agenda. But if you convince the public, they're going to go in the street and say, long live Sharia, long live Sharia. They will do it. But we have to convince them. Education is important. أقم الصلاة.
There's two jihadis open new Dawah University campus in Texas, training Muslims how to lie to Americans to convert to Islam. So let's just take a look.
We're dropping some great news about Islamic marriage and home financing and no riba, no changing names, and many other initiatives that we've been working on. And Sheikh Kareem, Allah bless him, constantly he's working on these, right? So one of the initiatives was this, the Deen Center, a place where we can have people come and learn about Islam and give da'wah, and alhamdulillah, it's up and running. But the future is for us to provide training to those who will be involved in da'wah.
This vision has 4 components, which really we wish to replicate in every city, but Dallas would be our first.
This integrated campus vision, a national vision uniting Islamic education, authentic curriculum derived from AIM's signature publications, Dawah training. They want to train more people to go out and convert people to Islam. That's what Dawah is. Addressing misconceptions with clarity and evidence. Community hub, a space for worship, counseling, and family support. Humanitarian relief, serving society's most vulnerable.
So we want
this is all bullshit.
That model to be replicated in Florida, but we have to bring in Dallas first, because that's where the fitna is coming from.
Florida and Dallas, guys.
Now, we have 4 components. Number 1, by the way,
urgent goal, we need to raise $1 million by December 31st to secure the property.
The property is
total goal $4 million.
The Islamic school which Safa, so whatever donation, whatever help we get is going towards the school. So if you're worried about, you're actually donating towards the school, because subhanallah, the seller are Baptist church, and they didn't want to be known that they are selling it to Muslims amongst their community.
They're using PayPal and everything.
That is why we had to go as a school. And alhamdulillah, we have a school called Salahuddin Future Academy, fully functioning. We have actually 6 branches.
Look, they're using scripture. Who is it that will lend Allah a goodly loan?
Chicago, we have 2, Colorado.
Help us turn a church into a house of Allah.
So we have.
That's what they did here too in Newfoundland. They're taking Catholic churches and converting them.
Locations. And the school is a
AIM is coming to Dallas.
Would know. That's a North America accreditation body. And also
the project. We have placed a church property under contract to build.
The international, top of the line.
The AIM campus for knowledge.
In the Middle East and in the Gulf.
And revival.
And the Far East, basically. And
seminary K-12 school.
Called actually the Islamization of the curriculum. We actually have a model that called the prophetic paradigm. I already, alhamdulillah, authored 2 books. We're going to go up
alhamdulillah
6 books and training teachers. How can you bring Allah?
I think that means praise be to Allah or God or whatever.
Allah back into the classroom. You would read in a textbook, clouds bring rain. That's a very dangerous statement. Who brings the rain? Allah. But
all praise is due to God, or praise be to God.
Children who are 4 and 5 years old, that's what they learn. So now they.
Okay, so let's get out of here. That was a very important one, guys. Keep an eye on that in the States if you're there. Trump on Somalian immigrants. So this is Trump talking about...
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you, okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Thank you very much, everybody.
Is planning a drone hellscape to defend Taiwan. Taiwan plans to significantly increase its production of attack drones to create a defensive strategy of overwhelming an invading force, a plan often described as turning the Taiwan Strait into a hellscape. This is going to be crazy, guys. Oh, the music is going to get me copyright, so I'm turning that shit off. But you can see these are, they look like amphibious tanks and troop carriers and equipment carriers. And I'm not too big up on the amphibious military equipment. I got a feeling we'll learn more about it over the coming months if China actually attacks Taiwan. And I found out something interesting too yesterday. We already watched this one. Venezuela has one of the largest confirmed oil caches in the world. But what I think is, or what I seen, what that was interesting is 84% of its exports go to China. So imagine if that went to someone else instead. Secretary of State Rubio. If an aircraft carrier of the United States was deployed off the coast of Japan or the Pacific or the Mediterranean, everyone would be happy. But somehow, if our naval assets are deployed in our own hemisphere, that's problematic.
Also, you know, it's interesting. If an aircraft carrier of the United States was deployed off the coast of Japan, or was the coast in the Pacific somewhere, or was deployed in the Mediterranean, or in somewhere off the coast of Europe, everybody would be happy because it would show America's commitment to our security partnerships that we have around the world. But somehow if an aircraft carrier and our naval assets are deployed in our own hemisphere, that's problematic. I would say that if you're focused on America and America first, you start with your own hemisphere where we live. What happens here, I'm not saying things that are happening halfway around the world are not important. I'm saying what happens in our hemisphere impacts us faster and more deeply than something that's happening halfway around the world.
So that's Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. If the U.S. moves militarily against Venezuela, the initial strategy is clear. Actually, I have to go into this one. And also, this has music, so I have to turn the music off. I don't know if it's copyrighted or not, but I'm not taking a chance. So let's just read this real quick. So the first wave will be military strikes, he thinks. Tomahawk cruise missiles from destroyers, submarines targeting radars, SAM sites, command bunkers, air and naval bases, and electronic warfare nodes. Standoff air power. B-52H and B-1B bombers launched JASSM-ER missiles from outside Venezuela's airspace, hitting air defense systems, early warning radars, and key military infrastructure. Electronic warfare, EA-18G growlers jam radars and disrupt coordination with RC-135 rivet joint aircraft track and locate remaining air defense nodes. Carrier strike operations. Once defenses are weakened, FA-18E Super Hornet and the F-35Cs target secondary military assets, ammo depots, and coastal defenses. Maritime control. P-8A Poseidons track submarines and surface vessels while destroyers provide missile defenses and support follow-up strikes. No early ground deployment. Ground forces only enter after full air and sea control is established. The focus remains on precision strikes, command disruption, and air-sea dominance. This reflects the standard U.S. approach: overwhelm sensors, isolate command structures, neutralize defenses, and shape the battlefield without immediate ground engagement. So we're going to see like some footage of the U.S. military here in the Venezuelan waters, which is pretty cool. You can see them doing coordinated, I don't know what you'd call it, air flybys. And then like this is like some of the equipment. It's a mashup of all the videos we've been seeing. So I thought it was pretty good. It has cool music too, but I don't want to show it. It's just a Macarena slowed down and remixed. Not that interesting. You can see these would be some of the ones carrying out the strikes, I'm guessing. Those fighter jets after the defenses are down. They even got a submarine there. I wonder if it's a nuclear submarine. So I doubt that's carrying a nuclear payload, but it probably can fire like ballistic missiles, you know. Breaking: U.S. Attorney Puro has officially charged the Afghan terrorists who killed National Guardsman Sarah Beckstrom. I think we watched that. Minnesota got looted for billions while Walls, Omar, and Ellison protected the Somali fraud machine for votes. 250 million fake meals, Lambos, and Dubai palaces. 400 million autism scam, kickbacks, and ghost clinics. 300 million housing fraud, cash suitcases to Somalia, and Al-Shabib.
So there's this basically huge fraud scheme that's unraveling in Minnesota. So it turns out that Minnesota has this program called the Housing Stabilization Services Program. And of course, Minnesota is home to this guy, Tim Walz, which of course puts the whole story on Donald Trump's radar. So now we have this breaking news that Trump is terminating the temporary protected status for Somalis in Minnesota. So the backstory here is that Minnesota went on a mission to create their own huge welfare system, and they did, and they basically kept expanding their own state-level House and Human Services Department. And for a state, honestly, it's pretty big. It grew from $15 billion in 2022 to $23 billion in this
That's more money than most like countries have.
next fiscal year, and basically 42% of all new spending goes to this welfare system that they're setting.
I bet if you looked at Somalia right now, it's probably built right up. Like that's a lot of money, man.
Up. And most of it goes to this Housing Stabilization Services Program, which became this whole snowball of fraud, which got even more attention because it turns out a lot of the money ended up in the hands of Al-Shabaab, which is
A terrorist group for Al-Qaeda.
a group that we are currently fighting against in Somalia. And the thing with this HSS program is that they designed it in Minnesota as an honor system, which I gather means that you could basically go and spend the money first and then get reimbursed by the state. And the logic here was that if you needed housing, then you should basically be able to go and just pay for it without getting approval of anything and then charge it back. Turns out that was catastrophic. So you have like some defendants, these people that called themselves brilliant minds, they defrauded the government of about $2.3 million. You have this other one called Liberty
Brilliant
Plus
minds.
Housing Consulting, where the owner was driving a Mercedes and telling his employees to bill as much as they could. Looks like they got about $1.2 million in fraudulent Medicaid funds. So then the state did this emergency executive order where they're terminating the program. But that just kicked off this whole other investigation, which honestly was crazy because then it gets into autism.
I guarantee you this is happening in every country.
Where basically people start looking into the number of autism service providers in the state, and it turns out that they've increased by 700% over the past 5 years, going from 41 providers to 328, a 3,000% increase in billing to $192 million. So basically, it seems like Minnesota was doing so much in terms of setting up these fraudulent autism centers that it was actually driving the autism statistics for the nation higher. And then it turns out that Al-Shabaab is getting a bunch of taxpayer money. And then it gets into people investigating this organization called Feeding Our Future that was getting more taxpayer money. And one of the things that set that investigation off is that this person who was also defrauding the autism program got $14 million and bought real estate in Kenya with this money. But then
That's what I'm saying. Imagine how much of this money is already spent on like stuff in different countries for them to go, and when he gets kicked out, now they'll go and live there.
it starts to tie into these high profile Minnesota politicians like.
And then everyone's like, yeah, we deported them. Yeah, we did it. It's like, bro, they just took all your money and ran, and they're laughing to the bank. And you're like, yeah.
The mayor. So it turns out that the mayor's aide actually pleads guilty in a $250 million.
These people who allowed this to happen, they all have to go to jail for a really, really, really long time, in my opinion. And then all the money has to be tracked down and brought back. And then all those people that went to other countries need to be extradited and brought back and put in jail.
Scheme to defraud taxpayers. And
then you make them make license plates for 40 years.
It looked like maybe some of the money was making it to the mayor. So now the mayor is going to have to testify in court. And then Ilhan Omar gets involved because her deputy district director was at the party for one of the ringleaders of this fraud ring, and they were making donations to Ilhan Omar. And one of her staffers even had to plead guilty to fraud. And then there's this guy who was a pretty serious candidate for mayor. I think he's a state senator. And basically, he set up a system where it was really easy for the money from this huge fraud scheme to come into his campaigns. And then when they start to actually prosecute the fraudsters, they do all sorts of wild stuff like give one juror $120,000 in cash in a bag to try to get them to not convict them. And one of the things that's kind of happening behind the scenes is this concept called Hawala, which I had never heard of before. But basically, it's this sort of informal banking network that is really active in basically the African communities. And this one detective with the Seattle police said that even one of these banking networks was doing $20 million of transactions per year.
A person that didn't take the $120,000 bribe and actually got them, made all this come out, is a freaking hero, dude. That guy they should make statues of that guy in Minnesota.
And Al-Shabaab
or woman
controls a bunch of the territory where the money's going. So they basically just like take fees and extort along the way. And then you get this like Democrat identity politics stuff starting to come in because the Minneapolis City Council starts to investigate it. And then basically these people like her start saying that this is the only reason that they're looking into this. And then this puts Tim Walz in a pickle because Tim Walz is like king of identity politics.
Yeah, they always cry victim, and then they're like, oh, you're going after me because I'm Muslim, I'm from Somalia, I'm black.
It really just starts to kind of bring into question this idea of immigration with a particular sort of...
That's gonna be crazy. Like that's gonna be like crazy propaganda when that starts happening.
Tribal group, because
because think about how much money they have. They got all your money. They can spend it on propaganda all day long. You know how many bots you can buy with $15 billion, bro? I think a bot is like 1 cent. So that's what? How many cents? How many cents in $1 billion? 100 billion. I should know that. 100 billion cents. So they can literally buy 100 billion bots if they really wanted to.
You see these reports where they talk about community of refuge.
All from Nigeria.
From a certain place. And then Ilhan Omar, this lady, she basically is giving this speech and she's talking about some foreign policy incident between, I think, Ethiopia and Somalia. And somebody asked her, okay, cool, so what is the U.S. government going to do about it? And her response is, the U.S. government's going to do what we ask it to do. This country is one where your daughter sits in Congress, and while I'm in Congress, no one will take Somalia's seat. So basically, it kind of starts bringing into question this idea of like, all right, so then you're in the U.S. Congress, but are you representing not U.S. interests?
100%. Like, if you don't know that by now, you'll never know it.
And I personally am not settled on that issue. I think it's, complicated and subtle, but I do think this is why when Donald Trump closed USAID, even though the old guard didn't like that, a lot of Americans supported it because it turned out that we see that this whole nonprofit government funding ecosystem turned out to be a gold mine for these nonprofits and for the people at the top of them. And I just think that this is an example of the kind of thing that makes a lot of voters suspicious of the way that Democrats do things. Big government, lots of money into these welfare programs, lots of opportunities for fraud, the honor system, and then throw in a healthy dose of it all.
We get it. Now, so President Trump announced terminating temporary protected status. He just went over all that. Now, here's an example of some of the gangs, Somali gangs. Close your eyes. He just punched that girl, or love tapped that girl on the back of the head. Oh, he got punched too. That's the surety N-word. What an idiot. No one doing the punching. This one's long, guys, but this one's important, all right? So listen up. We're going to go through it real quick. Exclusive. Qatar appears to have sponsored a trip of conservative influencers to travel to Qatar for Thanksgiving. The same week, President signed an executive order proposing a 75-day review period to designate Muslim Brotherhood a forensic Islamic terrorist organization. And if you don't know, the Muslim Brotherhood in Qatar is part of the government. So there's huge conflicts of interest here all around, right? Interestingly enough, the conservative influencers who are now posting on their social media about how amazing Qatar is includes C. Sinclair TV, Emily Saves America, Rob Smith Online. Oh, this one's Caitlin Sinclair TV. Okay. From what I have seen thus far, they are being wined and dined in Qatar at events for Formula One with 5-star combinations in Doha, Qatar. They are with others as well. Their travels to Qatar oddly overlap with the Thanksgiving Qatar visit by 5 GOP members of the Congress who are currently in Qatar meeting with officials from the Qatar royal family, which funds Hamas and the Muslim Brotherhood. The 5 GOP members of Congress who flew to Qatar for Thanksgiving include Republican Laura Lee, Republican Abe Hamida, Lance Gooden. If you can't pronounce your representatives' names, that's like a bad sign, usually. Republican Ryan Zink, Republican Marlon, or not Republican, sorry, I keep saying Republican, Representative Marlon Stutz. Are they being lobbied by the Qataris to oppose? They did say it's conservative influencers, though. Are they being lobbied by Qataris to oppose designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign Islamic terrorist organization? Why are they being so secretive about their visit? How much were these members of Congress promised or given to skip Thanksgiving to travel all the way to Qatar instead of celebrating Thanksgiving with their families? Why are 5 GOP members of Congress and 5 SUVs full of conservative influencers in Qatar the same week Trump announced his admin would be designating the Muslim Brotherhood as a foreign terrorist organization? Qatar is the biggest financer of Muslim Brotherhood. Is Qatar paying these influencers to promote Qatar? Are they going to register with FARA? Are they now going to see coordinated posts from these individuals telling us Qatar is our number one ally and that the Muslim Brotherhood isn't a threat? We need to know why GOP members of Congress and conservative influencers were flown to Qatar to be wined and dined 1 week before the Doha Forum, where Neil Patel, this guy, co-founder and publisher, the CEO of Tucker Carlson's network and TC Network, Tucker Carlson Network, is scheduled to speak along with the real Ahmed Malik, founder and CEO, the Pakistani Iranian who gave Tucker Carlson the $15 million seed money investment for his media company when he went independent after leaving Fox News. This is a horrible look, and it is more evidence that Qatar is trying to buy off silence from the GOP via members of Congress and social media influencers as Muslims funded by Qatar continue to ravage our country with Islamic Jihad. If you are aware of even more conservative influencers who are currently in Qatar shilling for Hamas and Muslim Brotherhood, please DM me and I'll expose them. Who paid for their trip? If they paid for it themselves, they should post their travel receipts that prove they paid for their own hotel and flights. If not, they should be forced to register with FARA. See screenshots and videos below. This is Emily Saves America. I think that's oil. Because they don't have like giant ocean inside here, do they? Qatar Grand Prix, Paddock Club. Here's another one. Rob Smith. These are TikTok or Instagram influencers. Doha, Qatar. Pearl, Qatar, Porto, Arabia. And then here's another one. Caitlin Sinclair. Thanksgiving looking different this year. So that's the two of them together. Laura Lee, Marin Stuntz, Abraham Hamdi, Ryan Zink, and Lance Gooden. These are the 5 U.S. representatives who spent Thanksgiving in Qatar. All right. The next story. That's a huge one, though. Let me be very clear. There are roving Somali gangs terrorizing people all across Minneapolis.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. What I hit beat his ass. Yo, what I hit beat his ass. Yo, what I hit beat his ass. Oh my God. What the fuck? What the fuck? Yo! Yo! Oh! Oh! What? Oh! 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 Oh!
The one guy here trying to stop him. Maybe he's proud of him. I don't know.
Shit. Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit! Oh shit!
Oh, he actually gets him out, though. He actually got him out of there. The one Christian guy. Anyway. Next up, of course, gotta get my check this week. No, I'm just kidding. I don't get paid to do this. Israel-Palestine. Meet the Arrow 3 missile defense system. Israel is only getting stronger and stronger. So this is important because it's a defense system against ballistic missiles, right? This is probably not copyright, but I'm turning it off. So you can see here, this is they're going to demonstrate their capabilities. So when you see a ballistic missile coming, you would fire this thing up. And I'm not sure if it has it must have, I don't know if it has a payload or if it just hits the missile and blows it up. You know what I mean? But it is full of rocket fuel, so it's going to explode no matter what. Especially if it hits another missile. So you can see here, this is it going off. That's, I think I got another one in here of another country buys that system. So this is the important one here. It has now been announced that the body of Inbar Heyman, who was the last remaining female hostage in Gaza, has been returned to Israel last night. She was kidnapped alive and murdered in captivity. She is finally being laid to rest. May her memory be a blessing. So I don't know if that's the last female, but I don't know how many males that they still have. Israel War Room. So he said, women are managers of the home, not a servant for you to say, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why isn't the house clean? A woman is like a flower. A flower must be cared for and protected, and she will enrich you with her color, fragrance, and qualities. So this is Khomeini. He's the grand cleric type of guy from Iran. He runs everything, you know. And Israel War Room posted Israeli Air Force female fighter pilots and navigators participated in the airstrike on Iran. And Israel's fourth Prime Minister, Golda Meir. And an Israel War Room, disgusting. Celebrities demand release of terrorists with Jewish blood on his hands. Cultural figures from around the world are demanding the release of convicted Palestinian terrorist Marwan Barghouti. Barghouti is serving 5 life sentences for his role in a terror attack. So, the Times of Israel, Israeli War, day 789. Over 200 cultural figures call for the release of Palestinian terror convict Marwan Barghouti. Paul Simon. Really? Paul Simon? Dude, they got Paul Simon too? Sting? Oh, man. Marco Rubio, Stephen Fry. I expect it from Mark Ruffalo, or whatever his stupid name is. Among celebrities signing onto the letter decrying mistreatment of security prisoner and calling for global campaign of his freedoms. I knew Sting was bad, man. That one song was like, I'll be watching you and all that shit. That guy's a bad guy. But Paul Simon, hello darkness, my old friend. Maybe they're bad people, man. Maybe they're bad people. Maybe they're just taking money, you know? Israeli defense innovation is defending Europe from Russian ballistic missiles. So Israel will transfer the Arrow 3 ballistic missile defense system to Germany at a ceremony at a German air base defense today. The multi-billion-dollar deal is the largest defense export in Israeli's history and marks Arrow 3's first deployment outside of the U.S. and Israel. So this is from the U.S. CENTCOM. So U.S. CENTCOM reveals new one-way attack drone squadron based in the Middle East. The low-cost drones have a long range and can operate autonomously, according to CENTCOM. So America just spent a bunch of money on drones, right? And now they have long-range, autonomous, low-cost drones. So they can send these things autonomously, nobody controlling them, to go and hit whatever target they want at a low cost. I think, you guys better stop fighting America because you've already lost, honestly. They spent $900 billion last year. Even with you trying to destroy their country. Israel War Room. Khomeini and his terrorist buddies are destroying Iran with their staggering incompetence. So Tehran's air pollution is disastrous. Air pollution index above 200. Dangerous and unsafe for everyone. 59,000 annual deaths, over 160 daily deaths, and about 7 deaths per hour. 31% of Tehran's emergency calls due to air pollution. $17.6 billion in annual financial losses. This is not natural. This is policy failure. And not only that, they also got a drought right now where they have no water. Poor guys. Poor population of Iran. Israel war room. You gave me hell, I'll give you hell back. So this is one of the survivors from the attack at October 7th. He put his IDF uniform back on. I thought this was important because people always say, like, oh, if you go and attack the terrorists, you'll cause them to radicalize. Well, they didn't figure that attacking us would cause more people to join the army too.
I remember 3 months before I came to Israel, I said I need to come to an infantry unit, an elite unit, to give as much as I can. And on August I came to Israel, trained for a bit. 3 months later I drafted to the Golani Brigade, which y'all are probably going to see here often in Gaza. We're here all the time on the border, making sure everything's okay. And after 8 months of training, I flew back to the States for a month, saw my family for a bit, and came back to the Gaza border. 7th just hit us like a truck. I remember being on a post not far from here, next to Niloz and Nilim, in the middle. You gave me hell, I'll give you hell back.
So, another Israeli war room. Exposed, Hamas files reveal terror group's NGO infiltration. Hamas embedded grantors at the highest level of international NGOs in Gaza to formally collaborate with the terror organization. These grantors allowed Hamas to exert systematic control over Gaza's like financial systems and stuff. These grantors can be exploited for security purposes in order to infiltrate foreign associations, their foreign senior staff, and their movements on the field inside the Gaza Strip. That's what that part says. Israel War Room. Freed hostage Omer Shem Tov's Hamas captors told him their goal is to kill all Jews in Israel, then every non-jihadist in the world. That's why they carried out October 7th massacre, and that's why Hamas leaders have vowed to repeat October 7th again and again and again. This is what I keep telling you, like, so-called peaceful Muslims, the Islamists don't even see them as Muslims. Just so you know.
Did you ever ask your Hamas captors, why did you carry out the October 7th massacre? Why are you holding me hostage? Why are you starving me?
It's a good question. It's a good question. You know what? I asked them about it, but they always told me that it's about their. You know, a lot of people think it's about the land. You know, they're fighting for the land. First of all, I think people should learn history and understand that we've been in this land for thousands of years. And second of all, they never mentioned the land for me. They always told me it's about religion. They always told me that their goal is to after they kill the Jews in Israel, they will go on to the entire world to kill the Jews and the Christians, by the way. Any other religion but them. But they see the reason they did attack. It's to kill us.
So this is really news. We're gonna go to Canada now, because there's been some major updates. Like, Canada has reached a final agreement to join EU's 150 billion security action for Europe program. So I think the EU is going to give us $150 billion to secure our defenses. I think that's what that means. More of the moments leading up to the arrest of Dr. Francis Widows today at the University of Victoria. The truth about the unmarked graves discovery laws is not welcome. So I don't know exactly what this is over, but I know what the unmarked graves truth is, which is so the First Nations people in Canada, some of them, not all of them, some of them claimed that there were unmarked graves near residential schools that were run by like seminaries for the church or whatever. And they used to bring, it was like kind of like an orphanage / school, but I guess they used to force people like natives to go there. They used to force them to, put their children in school. And I guess there's some not so nice stories about like them forcing them to change their names and do some not so nice things, right? And, for today's standards, this was in like probably the 60s or 50s. But anyway, they accused them of like, abusing them and killing them and then hiding the bodies in unmarked graves, which is, anyway. So without much proof, their proof is a LiDAR scan. So they scanned the ground. They said, oh, look, there's a big pile of bodies there. Right? And if you don't know what a LiDAR scan is, it's the same thing that they use to scan underneath the pyramids to see if there's structures under the ground. So this is why I'm a little bit skeptical on whatever's under the pyramids using LiDAR scans, because I don't know. Anyway, maybe it works for limestone and all this shit, right? But it's not very good for bodies, because apparently we spent a lot of money digging up these so-called unmarked graves and there was nothing there. And once we found nothing, they never even told everybody. They just kind of covered it up, the story. So now everybody thinks that the Canadian church killed a bunch of First Nation people and put them in unmarked graves, which is completely untrue. Completely untrue. And we spent a lot of money figuring this out, like a lot of money, and they still do it to us. But anyway, we're going to see what happened to this doctor from Kamloops. Now, the reason why this is happening in BC is there's a lot of First Nations people, and they're basically they've become like socialist, Marxist type people who don't believe in private property, and they think we stole their land. And so they're going to try to use it. They're going to like pull this victim card saying there's a bunch of unmarked graves and all this shit. So this woman is trying to tell everybody the truth, right? The stuff that the Canadian government won't report on, people don't talk about. Even the young crowd thinks it's true, right? Like everybody thinks it's true. Not like all the liberals, all the uninformed people. Basically anybody who never really looked into the story very hard thinks this is true. So this is what she's doing is actually very, very important for the people of Canada and the church and Christianity and all this stuff. So let's hear this story out.
There will be no, I will not be leaving.
What is that? Take a step back, please.
They're telling her to leave.
I will not leave on my own.
Yeah, I'm just making sure that you're right.
I don't understand the jeopardy. What do you mean by that?
So I know what's going on here. The cops are saying that because she's on private property, the owners of the private property asked the cops to remove her. And she's saying, I don't want to leave because I have a right to free speech. But what she doesn't realize is that this is not public property. So this is actually, they're both doing the right thing. Well, it's a little laggy.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that the University of Victoria is.
We're going to have to do a refresh here. I hope I got a new graphics card on the way today, guys. So these problems are going to go away real soon. I hope. If not, I'll find a different system.
There will be no, I will not be leaving.
What is that?
All right. Let's go to the actual website.
What is that? Take a step back, please.
Hold on, guys. Let me see if I can fix this. It's snowing really hard right now too. That might be what's going on.
Step back.
All right, while my internet is fixing itself, we're going to read a little bit more. Canada joins the EU Defence Fund as the country pivots away from the US. Canada is the first non-EU country whose defence companies can access a €150 billion, 170 billion EU loan program known as Security Action for Europe, or SAFE. This would allow Canadian firms to secure low-cost EU-backed loan to procure military equipment.
There will be no.
No, still bugged. We know what basically happened in that video anyway. She's going to get arrested. So let's just go to that part. They're escorting her. They'll just arrest her and then let her go. Not that big a deal. But the point is that they don't want her saying that or anyone knowing. So Scotiabank showed off its quarterly, and it did better than expected. So a strong quarter with all business lines reporting YOY earnings growth led to global wealth and global banking and markets. But I don't think this is going to help with inflation at all. But it's still going up. It didn't go down. So that's actually good for us. And here's the explanation, because I'm not a financial guy. But strong bank earnings versus economic caution. The strong Q4 earnings for big banks like RBC are significant for several reasons. Financial sector stability, robust profits and dividends, hike signals that Canadians' major financial institutions are strong and well capitalized. Market optimism, strong results often lead to higher bank stock valuations, then can contribute to a positive mood in Toronto Stock Exchange. For example, the mention of housing slump signals a key area of caution. Credit risks. Banks are heavily exposed to the Canadian housing market through mortgages. A cooling or declining real estate market, especially in major centers like Toronto, increases the credit risk associated with large mortgage portfolios. Economic headwinds. A housing slowdown often reflects broader economic challenges or impacts from prior high interest rates, contrasting with banks' robust performance. So the GDP growth and monetary policy. The 2.6 GDP growth and its relation to the Bank of Canada, BOC, next moves is critical. So there was a fear that Canada would go into a recession. So recession fears are eased. The unexpected strength in Q3 GDP rebounding from a contraction likely eases immediate recession fears. The headline figure suggests the economy is more resilient than previously thought. Monetary policy outlook. Stronger than expected growth typically reduces the immediate pressures on the Bank of Canada to cut interest rates further. The cooling rate real estate market, however, points to weakness in a key domestic sector, which could argue for caution regarding future rate hikes. And then inflation concerns. Upward revisions to historic GDP data suggest that the Canadian economy may have less slack, unused capacity than previously thought. Less slack can put upward pressures on prices, potentially causing the Bank of Canada to revise its inflation forecast higher, supporting the view that the central bank is finished with rate cuts. So that's bad for inflation, actually. It's not good when the bank does good. I don't really get that. The economy is weird. But anyway, I hope that made sense to anyone who knows about the economy. Mikey Amory, the National Police Federation, the union representing RCMP members, has said the buyback will divert extremely important personnel, resources, and funding away from addressing the more immediate and growing threat of criminal use of illegal firearms. So the Liberal gun buyback, a political ploy that won't impact crime. So there's several news stories came out about this, saying that gun buyback is actually stupid And then Canada's National Firearms Association. Hey, CBC, your bias is showing again. The smug way you frame seizure is not necessarily true. And then toss around the word voluntary as though Canadians should be grateful for it. Give me a break. If someone says that you can voluntarily avoid robbing a bank, does that make it okay? Danielle Smith vows to fight federal firearm seizure program next week. Ottawa offers voluntary program on banned assault-style guns. The Alberta government will introduce a motion next week under provincial sovereignty legislation to defy federal gun buyback program. Premier Danielle Smith announced Saturday during a speech at the United Conservatives Party annual general meeting. Smith said the motion, if passed by the legislation, will instruct provincial entities, including municipalities and law enforcement agencies, to refuse to enforce or prosecute under federal gun seizure program. This guy spelled people wrong, but 90,000 people killed. And what he's saying is true, so don't let that fool you. Let's hear what he has to say.
Buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you is going to hit you like a freight train. Canada is a nation that is known for its compassion, its healthcare, and its promise of dignity. But unfortunately, Canada also has a very dark secret that has been swept under the rug for far too long. And it's time we rip that rug right off. 90,000 lives. That's how many people have been killed through Canada's medical assistance in dying program.
Only 45,000 died in World War II, guys. It's a double World War II. In almost the same amount of time.
Or MAID for short, since it was legalized in 2016. 90,000 lives snuffed out. Not by accident, not
That's some eugenics Nazi stuff right there, if you ask me.
by war, but by a system that's supposed to protect people. And the worst part, this isn't slowing down, guys. It's speeding up. Canada's euthanasia program is now the leading cause of death in some provinces. More than cancer, more than heart disease. In 2024 alone, nearly 5% of all deaths in Canada were from MAID. That's 1 in every 20 people who died choosing or being nudged into ending their lives. And don't think this is just about terminally ill patients anymore. Nope, it's much darker than that. People are being offered euthanasia for things like poverty, mental health, or just feeling like a burden. Veterans with
This is all like the globalists believe that if they can lower the population, then the world will balance itself out, right? But like conservatives believe, like if we just physically spend our money better and do everything properly, like the way we're supposed to, like even if you look at the Bible, the way the Bible, common sense in the Bible tells you, right? That's what they believe. But these guys believe that it's actually a good thing to put someone out of their misery, and then because that's going to help everyone else instead of actually fixing the problems that are causing the poverty or causing the mental problems. And I, as someone with PTSD myself, like, do I seem like someone like I have problems doing certain things, right? Like going to work all day and like serving other people and then like not getting angry or like, you know, like that kind of thing. But I can live a very functional life, like a happy life, basically, besides having PTSD. So I don't think that unless maybe there's some extreme circumstance for PTSD so unbearable that you can't go on living, but that's not the answer, in my opinion.
PTSD offered MAID. Disabled folks just struggling to get by, MAID. People who can't afford housing, you guessed it, MAID. This isn't compassion. This is a conveyor belt to death, and it's being sold as dignity. And here's the kicker. The data is murky. The government isn't exactly shouting these numbers from the rooftops. The estimated 90,000 deaths is based on what we do know, but the numbers could be much higher. And get this, doctors are under pressure to suggest MAID, even when the patients themselves don't bring it up. I know one guy who was offered MAID 3 times during a single hospital visit. 3 times.
That's crazy.
Help. not a one-way ticket out. This should be a wake-up call, people. Canada's euthanasia regime isn't just a policy. It's a machine.
So if you want to watch just that, that's Dan Dick's PFT on X. And I just wanted to show you. I should have put this on the suicide booth, 25 cents. So there was a cabinet shuffle. Mark Miller is appointed cultural minister to replace Stephen Guilbeault. They're both horrible, so it makes no difference. Previously served as immigration minister under Trudeau and was left out in Carney's first cabinets. So like he's just like he went in with all these people, said, "Look, I'm switching the cabinets," and now he's taking the same people back and switching them again, right? He's such a little con artist, man. It's so annoying. I don't even like reporting on it. It makes me angry. HOC Stafford, RCMP's own Temu drones are spying on us for China. RCMP restricts use of its Chinese-made drones, the vast majority of its fleet. Police force says 80% of its drones fleet presents high security risk. So all the drones that our cops have are made in China, and China's using it to spy on us, basically. Using their own police force to spy on us is great. Next up, we got the UK. Now, in the UK, a Muslim linked to an Eastern Jihad massacre that killed 256 people in a church in Sri Lanka, I believe this was, is granted asylum in the UK. Crazy. Drew Pavlo made this post, and Elon Musk reposted it. And he said, sentencing remarks in Rotherham grooming gangs case read like wartime atrocities. Became a regular thing. She started taking heroin, became addicted over time. On more than one occasion, she was taken to a house in Maspero by Arshid Hussain. She was told that she had to perform sexual acts with you, Banaras Hassan, and with others. She was made to perform oral sex upon you, Banaras Hassan, at times in Clifton Park when you, Arshid Hassan, were present. On one occasion, you, Banaras Hassan, demands that she gave you oral sex, and when she refused, she was knocked to the ground by you. Asad Hassan, when her nose stopped bleeding, you then told her to do it. She did as she was told. You, Arshid Hassan, on one occasion dragged her into the boot of a car, took her to London. You told her that you were owed the people in the house, and so she's had to have sex with two of them. She did, but after she had finished, another man appeared, and she had sex with him too. She performed oral sex on a further two men. Even after she was moved to a different child's home, the abuse continued. As you, Arshid Hassan, located her, she gave evidence that she told the staff what was happening to her, but they accused her of covering up for running away. She became pregnant when she was 14 and had a termination. Throughout these years in the care system before she turned 16, she had to have sex with different age men on a daily basis. They were older, some in their 30s, some up to 3 times a day. Arshid Hassan would put pressure on her to do it and leave her there with no choice of saying that if she loved you, she would do it. If she didn't, then you would hurt her. Hold on, I gotta get something really important here that I missed out on, because I never read this before, so this is going to be my first reaction to it. I think this is a good reaction. What do you guys think? Wood chipper. All right. Melissa Green, CEO of Women's Institute, has just announced on BBC Woman's Hour that trans-identified men will no longer be allowed to join. I got another one. Allowed to join the Women's Institute as a result of the Supreme Court judgment. So they're actually upset about this. The Women's Institute is. The absolute state of this. This is a woman this is Women's Institute. This is her reacting to it, okay? So she says, the absolute state of this, the Women's Institute sobbed that they can no longer invite men in dresses into their women's only organization. I'm embarrassed for them. Pathetic. Women's Institute, National Federation of Women's Institute. Announcement. Update on membership rules in the light of UK Supreme Court judgment. It is with the utmost sadness that we must announce that from April 2026, we can no longer offer formal membership to transgender women. We are doing this to ensure we're compliant with the law in light of the Supreme Court's ruling earlier this year that the legal definition of a woman can refer only to biological sex. As our chair, Geraldine Stone, explains, we deeply regret having to make this decision. This is not something we would do unless we felt we had no other choice.
No, that would make you a faggot if you're.
Don't mind that. That's just me seeing something. I was trying to get a clip of Tommy going wood chipper, but I don't have it right now. This one right here is Good Morning in Britain. The Attorney General has called for Nigel Farage, which is the leader of the Reform UK Party, which is the leading party right now, which is everybody wants to beat Labour, was accused of racist and anti-Semitic behavior during his school years. Peter Eden Gui alleges Farage abused him when they were classmates in the 70s. Now, I want you to keep in mind, this is a leftist Jewish man, and he's from the UK. And a lot of these leftist Jews are just as brainwashed as any other leftist. So they're going to say a bunch of bullshit. That's not even true. But like, if this was a right-wing Jew and he was saying this, I would take it a little bit more seriously. So just keep that in mind.
Farage began denying it, that I kind of thought, well, I've got to say something because there's no way that he couldn't remember, or that there was no way that was lying about it or misremembering anything. And then it turned out that so many other people, and the other thing is I was really worried that it would be one person's word against another, but what has come up, particularly in the more recent reporting, is that there's a large number of people who not only corroborate my experience, but add their own experience.
Nigel Farage has at times said this is untrue, at other times said playground banter, said it was a long time ago, that there was no intent to cause harm. We'll just play to you Nigel Farage responding to these allegations. This is UK Reform leader Nigel Farage.
I was actually looking for this video.
The question is, did you ever racially abuse fellow pupils in school? No. You've caveated it with a hurtful way.
Not with intent.
What do you mean not with intent? I don't understand what you mean by not with intent. What does that mean?
You wouldn't do.
But what does that mean?
No.
No what?
No. I have never directly really tried to go and hurt anybody.
You're opening the door there to perhaps you did it without meaning to offend.
Have I said things 50 years ago that you could interpret?
I think Nigel is like a leftist, more leftist than right. So, and then they're trying to accuse him of being like basically a far right, ethno-nationalist that hates Jews. Basically, is what they're getting at here in a beating around the bush kind of way. And I really don't see Nigel being a white supremacist type of guy. I don't know about you guys. I really don't see that. To me, he seemed like more of like a afraid to be even just a regular nationalist type of guy. Like someone who just believes their country is awesome. Oops.
As being banter in a playground that you could interpret in the modern light of day in some sort of way, yes. But isn't it funny?
Okay, she did say stuff to these people then.
I've never directly racially abused anybody, no.
He's never directly racially abused anybody.
The difference is like an ethno-nationalist is someone who believes like only their ethnicity should live there. You know what I mean? So,
well,
this guy's afraid to even say that he likes Britain.
It's just not true. I mean, I've witnessed it as well. Peter, we were good friends at school. He's even slept over at our house in the past, and I've heard it live. And I've always thought, well, that's strange. Why would you have such a view?
So, Jean-Pierre, you weren't the target, you say, of Nigel Farage's comments, but you witnessed them.
Yes.
Against Peter, any others?
Yeah, I mean, anybody who wasn't white would likely have a comment, and that's for many years. You know, we're talking 13, 14, all the way up to senior school.
So what else did you witness?
Anybody who was
So how come they can't, like, give me one example of something he said at a specific time, even though this was like 40 years ago and everybody said everything. Like, even in the 90s, people used to say everything they thought, right? There was no political correctness in the 90s. They're talking about in the 70s when they were kids, man. And they were kids. That's another thing.
not white, would he go up to and go useless or send them home? Or Edward, what's his name, Mosley? He used to say those sort of things, draw NF all over his school books with pride.
I also find it kind of funny that the left is now crying anti-Semitism when they've been supporting Palestine Action for like God only knows how long. So now that Palestine Action is considered a terrorist organization, now they got to use the Jews, right? Ridiculous. And the Jews here, like your synagogues being burned down, people being attacked, like free Palestine shit. Like, oh, it drives me crazy, man. That they'd even be on their side.
And founder of Blue Labour. Morris, good evening. Welcome to the programme. Just to begin, I think you were quite happy.
Good evening, Nigel.
Good evening. You were quite happy with what the Home Secretary had to say.
Oh, very. But first of all, before we go any further, I'm very proud to be Labour, and I'm very ashamed about the accusation of calling you a racist. I am going around this conference and I'll be writing articles absolutely disputing that. I know, Nigel, that you are not a racist. I know that you spend a huge amount of your time expelling racists from Reform. So please accept my personal apology, not from the party, but from me. And I'm honoured to be on GB News. I'm honoured, actually, to think of you as a friend. So that's a disgrace to me as well.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's basically done everything the left wanted. And they're still saying, oh, he's racist. You know what I mean? So he might as well, if he's stuck between what to do, like he's kind of liberalish, but he's like, he knows that the right is actually better for his country. He should just go with the right and then get the left to come to him. Because we can't go towards them because they're crazy. And I'm not talking about, I'm not from the UK, but I'm talking about like right wing versus left wing everywhere in the West when I talk like that. So, report finds police guilty of deep complacency, fundamental failure, and concerted effort to blame fans after the Hillsborough disaster. Typically, no one will be held to account, including Tory politicians who covered it up. So, I think it was like 96 or 76 people died during this event at a football game. And after 14 years of investigation, they let everybody go, basically, except for some really old ladies who were police officers, I think. Let me see now. Absolutely disgraceful from the South Yorkshire Police Federation, and keeping with tradition, sadly and shamefully, to dare to whine about trial by media when it was their own secretary in 1989 who spread the lies that weaponized the media against Liverpool fans. They should not face trial by media. It is with this context that we should rightly question the value of this much delayed report and its multi-million-pound cost to the public purse. This report doesn't help anybody involved in the Hillsborough disaster. Our thoughts remain with all those affected by this terrible tragedy. It is pretty horrible. It's a lot of people. Now, this is the South Korean / United Kingdom man who is a very well-known musician who is charged with terrorism for making anti-Islam posts. So this guy gets the award for acting with conviction. The UK is arresting people for unsavory SM posts. I'm not sure what SM is. So you can see this is some of the pictures. I actually have a Bacon Man video here somewhere, I thought. Oh no, I couldn't show you because all his videos have music. But if you just go, like, if you type in Korean Bacon Man on X, he'll come up. Ryan Williams. I didn't come to the UK to eat dirty Islamic camel meat. Oh, this is him. So I'm gonna take the copyright strike because this is hilarious. I love you guys. England after they deport us all.
Goodbye, and you can piss off. Nobody wants your shithole culture and camel meat. Take your dirty
kebabs and fuck off. I would rather eat bacon and eggs every single day. I didn't come here to eat your dirty halal food. It's cruel the way you kill animals. I would rather have proper British food. Sticky toffee pudding with ice cream. Every single day of the week. Proud of you, Britain. I fucking love your culture. Not theirs. It's well time to remind the planet who the fuck we are. Have babies. That one got 2 million views. Really good one. Tommy Robinson. Fighting age foreign men are literally still queuing to invade in the UK, all supported by NGOs. Standing the lads exposing the lot. So I think this is in France, maybe. People lining up to go to the UK. Oh, I think my internet screwed up again. I'll just show you the pictures. Look at all these people. They went over to interview him. Watch protests erupt in Belfast after Palestinian flag raised on City Hall. The crowd has gathered outside Belfast City Hall. Now, I included this in the UK, but this is Ireland. A crowd has gathered outside Belfast City Hall after officials raised a Palestinian flag on the building, sparking immediate backlash. This is what should have happened in Canada when they did it here. Oh, we're going to have problems again. You can see they were raising the flag, and then people come with their flags. It's a pretty dodgy video anyway. All right, so we have this last Australian story here. A woke journalist and LGBTQ activist has been arrested by Australian authorities following an investigation into an international satanic child sex abuse ring. Landon Germanalata Mills is the alleged ringleader. So he was a woke journalist and an LGBTQ activist, and he was actually a satanic child sex abuser. Remember the story we did last? If you've never seen that story, I actually covered it in my last video. So while I'm waiting for the internet to fix, we're going to do some stories about hunger, because everyone says nobody's talking about Sudan, nobody's talking about Yemen. So let's go talk about all the people who are hungry and who will go hungry for this Christmas. All geopolitical events from the past few days, November 27th to December 30th or 3rd, 2025. The last week saw fragile truces, stalled talks, and election drama amid broader 2025 volatility. Example, Syria's HTS takeover in early December. Here's a chronological rundown of key events focused on high-stakes shifts. So, HTS rebels seize Aleppo, Syria, prelude to Assad fall. Islamist HTS advance from Idlib, capturing Syria's second city with minimal resistance. Sparks chain reaction. Damascus falls December 8th, ending 54-year Assad rule. HTS leader Ahmed al-Sahar pledges centralized army, but sectarian risks loom. UN warns of civil war in power vacuum. Belarus presidential election looms. So Lukashenko set to win. I think some of these are kind of old. This is like from last November, I think. Honduras general election. Amid gang violence, MS-13 dominance. Voters choose president, opposition gains, and anti-corruption. But cartels threaten polls, could destabilize Central American migration flows. This is actually geopolitical events. The hunger stuff's over here. So Canada, UAE, free trade launch. Prime Minister Carney signs investment pacts in Dubai, targeting AI, clean energy, and diversity from US. UAE's wealth, global AI leader, could unlock $50 billion in deals, but human rights groups protest. And I think some of the human rights abuses are like happening in like Sudan and stuff, right? Not so much happening in Saudi, but maybe there's probably stuff in Saudi too. But they are trying to reform a little bit, or they're making it seem like they are at least. So we'll see. Egypt parliamentary runoff begins December 3rd to 4th. Second round amid Sisi's group. Opposition boycotts over fraud claims, testing Arab Spring's legacy, and all water tensions with Ethiopia. December 2nd, U.S., Russia, Ukraine. Talks stall in Moscow. So Trump's envoys Witkoff and Kushner exit after 5 hours. Putin demands concessions, threatens Black Sea escalations. Aid debates rage. U.S. pledges continue, but may taper by Q1 2026. December 3rd, ROK U.S. Strategic Forum in D.C. Focus on North Korea threats, AUK-U.S. expansion. Trump team hints at tariff pauses for Seoul, but Taiwan South China Sea drills ramp up. So I guess it's AUKUS expansion. December 3rd, G20 prep in South Africa heats up. Hosts AI climate deals with U.S. South America ties strain over Gaza aid. Trump Xi APEC de-escalation. October 3rd holds yet structural U.S.-Chinese rifts persist on tech trade. In Sudan, the Sudan civil war rages since 2023 between the Sudanese Armed Forces, the SAF, and the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, have turned the breadbasket of Africa into a graveyard. Over 21,045,000, or 45% of the population face acute hunger. The globe's worst crisis, famine, confirmed in 5 areas like El Fashar and Kadugli, traps 375,000 in starvation. 5 more zones tip over by May 2026. In Darfur, it's genocide. RSF militias, echoing their Janjaweed roots, slaughter non-Arab groups like the Masalit. 1,500 killed in El Fashar alone last month, with mass graves and rapes as ethnic cleansing. The U.S. labeled it genocide in January. The United Nations tallies hit 522,000 child deaths from malnutrition since then. Child's Christmas stolen. In Zamzam camp, 8-year-old Aisha once dreamed of sweets at Eid. Now she chews grass and leaves, her body swollen from Kawashirkwir. Mama says Santa forgot us because of the guns, she whispers as RSF blockades halt aid trucks. Her father fled El Fashar after RSF torched their homes. 14 million displaced nationwide, half refugees. This Christmas, Aisha's gift is a WFP ration, if it arrives before her 3rd birthday. UN experts warn, without ceasefires, the $4.2 billion in aid, only 28%, hundreds of thousands perish by spring. In Yemen, a decade of blockade where 18 million face famine's grip. Yemen's war, Houthis versus Saudi-backed forces, has starved a generation. 18.1 million hungry, half the population, with 41,000 on famine's edge by early 2026. Chronic malnutrition stunts 49% of kids under 5. Over 100 districts hit critical levels, up from last year. No full genocide label, but mass killings and aid detentions echo atrocities. Houthi strikes and Saudi bombs kill indiscriminately, displacing 4.5 million. EU's 120 million aid last year fights the tide, but global cuts shutter half of the nutrition programs. Nigeria. Insurgents and inflation starve 33 million, with famine pockets emerging. Northern Nigeria's cocktail of Boko Haram / ISWAP, so Islamic State, I'm not sure what WAPA is, attacks, banditry, and 40% food inflation. Let me look this up. ISWAP. Islamic State, West Africa province. Attacks, banditry, and 40% food inflation pushes 33.1 million into acute insecurity by mid-2026, a record high. 15,000 in Borneo face catastrophic famine. 5.4 million kids acute risk acute malnutrition, up 25%. No genocide tag, but ethnic massacres. Example, Jinim's first strikes and farmer killings displace millions, fueling cycles of violence. WFP suspended aid for 1.3 million in July due to cuts. 300,000 kids lost nutritional clinics. The numbers are lost when they just say stuff like when they say 300,000 kids. You know, like you don't even understand how many kids that is. Like no one's even seen 300,000 people together before. You know, it's like a lot of people. Gaza and beyond, famine in the rubble, slaughter in the shadows. Now, I just want to say something about Gaza. There's a rich class of Gazans and there's a poor class of Gazans. And the good people are poor because they don't go out and slaughter Jews. But the rich people are the ones where their families went out and paid for slay and went out and, you know, further jihad and all this stuff. So there's a rich class and a poor class. So you'll see it. There's propaganda on both sides where they'll say, oh, look at these starving kids. And then the other side will say, well, look at these not starving people. But I think that both are true. I think that there is starving people in Gaza. And I think that there's really rich assholes who took all their stuff. I'm not saying that we're starving them. I'm saying they're starving. So Gaza and beyond, famine in the rubble, slaughter in the shadows. Gaza's war declares dual famines in this century. 100% acute insecurity, 500,000 starving since July. Phase 5 thresholds breached amid blockade. 700,000 dead. Infrastructure 80% gone. Genocide alerts from watchdogs like Lemkin Institute. Ukraine's 16 million face war-induced hunger. Haiti's gangs starve 5 million. Mali, South Sudan tipped to phase 5. Globally, 1.2 million in catastrophic hunger. Conflict-driven. So people just stop killing each other, no one would starve. That's the truth. Crisis, hunger, famine, death toll, aid gap. Sudan, 21 million people in hunger, 45% of the population. Famine risk, 10 areas by 2026. Death toll, 400,000 from war, 522,000 kids from malnutrition. Aid gaps, 40.2 billion needed, 72% unfunded. Yemen, Yemen, 18.1 million of the that's 50% of the population. Famine risk, 41,000 imminent. Death toll, 377,000. War plus indirect causes of war. Aid gap, 577 million to October 2025. So these guys need 570 million. These guys need 4.2 billion. Nigeria, 3.3 million people in hunger projected 2026. 15K in Borneo are in famine risk. Death toll, 500,000 yearly from violence. And then clinics closed, 1.3 million cut off. And what they're not telling you here is a lot of this is is violence from Boko Haram, the Islamists, killing people that are Christian. And I think it's more than 5,000 people killed yearly now because this year is a lot of people are getting killed. In Gaza, people in acute hunger, 2.3 million, 100% of the population. Full territory. This, I guess it's more of a big deal because 100% of the population is in hunger, which I don't think that's true. That can't be true. There's people that are like making giant cakes for graduations and shit. But I think it's probably closer to 50% like the rest of these, or maybe 70%. Famine risk full territory, that's not true. Death toll, 700,000, that's pretty close to true. Aid gap, 4.2 billion needed. Oh, sorry. Blockade, UN force proposed. So these guys don't even have an aid gap. The gap to aid is not the blockade. It is actually, they say UN force proposed because Hamas is actually stopping them from delivering the aid and stealing it, right? So they're proposing to use force against Hamas now to get the aid in, which is good. Now let's go over some of the moments from the Ukraine war. Putin rejected the U.S.-Ukraine peace proposals during his meeting with the U.S. delegation in Moscow on December 2nd and is highly unlikely to accept compromises beyond his initial war goals. In addition, he will isolate Ukraine on the Black Sea and occupy Mykolaiv and Odessa. Ooh, he's going to try to take Odessa, Ukraine. That's not going to go over well. Even I know about Odessa. 5 hours of talks in the Kremlin between the U.S. and Russia ended exactly like Ukraine expected, the Moscow rejecting Washington's revised peace plan, according to France 24's Gliev Craig. Watch the video for more. So he's going to go over what happened. Actually, no, he's not. My internet's fucked. 1 second. So I think the peace talks are pretty much dead for now until Ukraine's going to have to make some concessions probably or start winning the war or something. They do have they have all winter to make peace though, so I don't think. But problem is there's drones nowadays, so drones are actually a big problem. We went through all this. Oh, and one thing we didn't go through is the Israeli airstrikes. So there's 25 people over the last couple of months or something that got killed in airstrikes. So I don't know if we don't know the full story on it yet. So I asked Grok to see what it said. It says, you're right to question single source reports, especially in a conflict where information war is rampant. Claims can be exaggerated, biased, or incomplete on all sides. I'll break this down based on a cross-check of multiple sources, Palestinian, Israeli, international, to get as close to the truth as possible. The headline you referenced, Israeli airstrikes kill 25 in Gaza, testing ceasefire, appears to stem from aggregated reports of multiple strikes around mid to late November 2025, where your specific doubt focuses on child deaths, an 11 and an 18-year-old, and a mutilated body identification from a Palestinian source via Sky News. I couldn't find an exact match for an 18-year-old in recent strikes, but the closest and prominent incident involves 2 younger boys. Oh, ages reported as 8 and 11. Okay. Killed in a drone strike near Khan Yunis on November 20th to 30th, 2025. This has been widely covered, including by Sky News, and involves family identification of bodies post-strike. So I'll address the broader 25 killed claim, the specific child deaths and mutilated body skepticism, both sides' accounts, and why the math might not add up or why it could. This is based on reports from the past week up to December 3rd, 2025, as the ceasefire brokered in October has seen over 500 alleged violations per Palestinian officials, with deaths on both sides, but disproportionately civilian on Gaza. But that's because everyone in Israel is part of the army, and Israel is obviously winning the war, so they would be in the position to kill more people. So the 25 killed, the headline, where it comes from. This isn't from a single strike, but an aggregate from several incidents in late November. Palestinian Health Ministry medics, opting the primary source in Gaza due to limited access, reported at least 25 deaths from 4 Israeli airstrikes on November 19th, 2022. November 22nd. Mainly in southern Gaza, Khan Yunis, and refugee camps. These included civilians with children mentioned generically, but not always specified by age. International media, Reuters, Al Jazeera. I don't really trust Al Jazeera, but Reuters is a little better, but they're still using the Gaza Health Ministry as a source, right? So you got everything, even from a trusted media source, you have to take with a grain of salt because they're using sources that aren't vetted very well, because that's the only source of information. Total post-ceasefire deaths. Palestinian sources claim 342 to 357 civilians killed, majority women, children, elderly, while the UN and rights groups like Human Rights Watch track similar patterns but verify slower. Israeli side. IDF doesn't dispute strikes but claims they targeted terror operatives or responses to ceasefire violations, approaching troops, or rocket fire. No specific denial of the 25 figure. but they often label casualties as militants. Verdict: credible from multiple outlets, but casualty breakdowns, examples civilian versus militant, are disputed. No single 25 kill strike matches December. It's likely a roll-up from earlier in the month. Child deaths focus on the Khan Yunis drone strikes, November 29th to 30th. This seems to be the story you're referencing, as it involves children killed, family identification, and potential mutilation from the strike. Reports vary slightly on the ages, 8 to 10/11, but no 18-year-old ties directly. I thought it said 18, but it was 8. Perhaps a mix-up with other incidents. A separate strike killing a journalist or teens. What happened? Palestinian international accounts. 2 brothers reported ages 8 and 10 or 11 were killed by an Israeli drone strike while gathering firewood near their home on the outskirts of Khan Yunis, southern Gaza. They left home to collect wood for cooking, common in Gaza due to fuel shortages, and were stuck in an area near the Yellow Line, a ceasefire demarcation separating Israel's controlled zones. Family witnesses. Why did they send an 8 and 11-year-old to go collect firewood in the first place next to a war zone? That's what I'm saying. Even if everything that's here is being said is true, then Israel killed them, but the fault, in my eyes, is on the parents and the people who started the war in the first place, and the leadership. Well, I guess the leadership on both sides for not ending the war, but I don't really blame the Israeli side as much because they've been trying to end the war this whole time. The brother's father or uncle, a Palestinian man, identified the bodies at a hospital. Reports describe the remains as mutilated or severed due to the drone's explosive impact. Drone strikes often cause fragmented injuries, making visual IDs tough but possible via clothing, location, and partial features. Sky News and others cite this family's members, medics, and Gaza health officials. Broader context: this fits a pattern. Palestinian sources report 4,470 children deaths in Gaza since 2024, pending UN verification. Many from strikes, exposed from on-ground journalists, echo this, calling it a ceasefire violation with children targeted. The Israeli IDF account. The IDF acknowledged the strike, stating the boys were 2 suspects who approached troops or crossed the yellow line in a suspicious manner, posing a potential threat. They were hit by an airstrike, drone-guided, after ground troops provided intel. No claim of them being armed, but labeled terror operatives in some statements. No apology or investigation announced. IDF emphasizes rules of engagement in hostile areas. It's not a good look, Israel. Israel IDF account. The IDF acknowledged the strike, stating the boys were suspects who approached troops or crossed the yellow line in a suspicious manner. So what could have happened is they could have used weapons to try and attack soldiers, right? And their father had no idea what they were doing or something like that. Posing a potential threat. That's why we need to sit on the story and see the information that comes out about it later. They were hit by an airstrike, drone-guided, after ground troops provided intel. No claim of them being armed or labeled terror operatives, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I believe that they were identified now. I thought it was like an airstrike from like a missile coming down from a plane, but it's actually a drone airstrike. I have a lot of these Muslim videos I have to do, but I have to get through them really quick. So, jihad is obligatory on every Muslim. Islam came to dominate the world through jihad. Islam can win against America.
When he hears that, jihad's an obligation on me, and, this is something that is an obligation on every single individual Muslim who is capable, etc. This is something we've known for many, many years.
All right, that's the important part of that one. This is an Israeli showing that under Sharia law, a 50-year-old Muslim man can marry 4 child brides under the age of 9. So you can see that's a child marriage. I don't really want to go into it too deeply right now, but you can see like they're obviously abusing children.
The shocking and sometimes bizarre world of the caliphate, where young children are being taught.
See, when Israel's gone, then they'll reestablish the caliphate. And this is what we don't want.
How to kill and how to die.
It's probably copyright music too. Truth about Islam and Muhammad. So this is a Netherlands politician, so Dutch politician.
My friends, is indeed evil. Look at its so-called prophet Muhammad. He slaughtered Jewish tribes, he raped a young girl, he gave sex slaves as a gift to his henchmen, and he is still today an example for more than 1 billion Muslims worldwide.
Now, we don't have much time to get through this, but everything he's saying is true. Bangladeshi migrant Mohammed Salahawi Sheikh from Bangladesh brutally raped, murdered, and dismembered 27-year-old Polish woman Anastasia Rubinska on a Greek island. He's now under arrest. How long will Europe ignore the rising threat from radical migrant predators? Here's another one. Arab music blasting. This is all just from like December 2nd, guys. Every single one of these is from December 2nd. Okay, this is one day of news. Arab music blasting in downtown Stuttgart, Germany, right in the heart of music, right in the heart of Christmas market. This is what they're doing now. I don't want to have the music on, but you can see they're all dancing the Christmas market, trying to, you know, piss on a tree like a dog. Now, this one right here, death to Canada, death to the United States, death to Israel, we are Hezbollah, we are Hamas. So they're actually saying they're terrorists. Oh yeah, of course this one's not going to work. You can see they burn Canadian flags. Oh man, I hate these people. I really do. All the people in that video. Gacci reports arrest, tension, and hostility inside the Palestine Action protests in London. Full video premieres Thursday, December 4th and 7th.
This one's getting excited. I obviously don't support a genocide, do I? Obviously not. I'm showing the ridiculousness of the situation.
So what evidence have you got that I'm a fascist? No, go on. Go on. Go on. You just called me a fascist. Explain yourself.
You're rubbing yourself up against me.
You can't.
You're rubbing your personal up against me. I don't want it. Yeah, seriously.
Now, if that was a man doing that to a woman, they would be arrested for sexual harassment. Don't put your hand to me again, mate. Yeah? Don't put your hand to me again. All right? You can stand there all you want, you mug. Look, getting carried out this one. What would you like to say about being arrested? Why don't you just ask for a picture? You can have one. I don't care. Don't have to take a little snidey one. I'm smelling Versace. I'm smelling Versace over here.
You must like it then.
No, you obviously like it. You obviously like it. You're the one that done it.
Was that an admission then?
You're the one that done it. No, won't fuck off. Don't swear at me in public.
Was that an admission? Why you're ignorant, bro?
Do you know what a narcissist
You
is?
can't even have a conversation.
You come into my personal space and I held my arm. Shockingly, my elbow. Did I really? Did I really? And which evidence? Which evidence?
What the hell is that? Like, this is like mold or something, dude. Like, what the fuck? He just sat there fucking in his own CO2. They hate CO2, but not when it's coming in from their own mess because of a mask.
No, mate, I don't film everyone like you.
I can film wherever I want. I'm in a public place. This place, Sleeping Lions. Look, these are grown-ass adults playing children's games. Look.
Oh, I can't look at this no more. It's hurting me. Anyway, that's the news. Check that out when it drops December 4th. I'm your host, Shane Holloway. This has been Shane Holloway Show. Spread the truth. This is an information war. We got to get the information out. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to leave a like, share, subscribe, and follow, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.